Hey guys, so I just wanted to have a little bit of a chat on here, just a random ramble and chat about some things that are on my mind at the moment and some things that are quite personal, so this will be a vulnerable share, but hey, it is what it is. So a little while ago, I found my guides were sort of telling me that second half of 2020, the 2020 decade, would kind of resemble the first part of the first half of the 2020 decade. That things were going to come at us that were similar but not quite the same, but that were from the same basic thing. The same type of decisions would be made somehow, and that we would be tested to see if we learnt anything from the first 5 years of 2020. Let's just put it like that, right? And so as we head into October, the end of September, I can see very big similarities to what happened to me about 4 years ago happening again. So 4 years ago, I was given 3 months to accept mandatory new policies where I worked, or at the end of the year, on the 31st of December of that year, I would be no longer employed and would be stood down indefinitely and then sacked. 3 months later, if I didn't follow the new mandatory protocols. You'll probably get where I'm going with this and what that means, right? Not only did I lose my job on the 31st of December, but I lost all rights and privileges to be able to go out anywhere, to have coffee, to go to a show, to fly, to go to funerals of people that I loved, to see the birth of my grandchildren. So many different things were taken, but I had agreed not to follow the necessary legal, mandatory policies that the world was putting out there, and so I was quite happy to sit in my little home with my limited abilities to do anything, with my ability to go and shop for as long as I wanted to in the place that I worked at beforehand, but not work there. I could stay there all day if I wanted to, but anyway, that was the thing. So I took that on the chin because I knew I didn't want to follow the mandatory things, right? So we're getting to September of 2025, and it sounds very similar to 4 years ago of September, when I found out that if I didn't follow the mandatory protocols, I had 3 months to get in line or go home, stay there. And I feel like it's happening again. Now, I live in Australia, and so the rest of the world is a little different to us. But I believe the UK is going first, and I believe we're coming up next. We're going to have some pretty big limits put on us come 2026 if we want to YouTube, if we want to social media. And in the wider context, if we want to travel or do whatever, you know, there is a great deal of change that's coming to how we are going to be in the world and how we can be monitored or tracked, or however you want to look at it. And so I feel like I'm going to be at another loss again, you know, of losing my freedom. And I have to ask myself, how many times in this lifetime am I going to lose my freedom because I don't want to do something that I don't believe is right? How many lessons do we learn? How much do we follow along what everyone says and not listen to those people who are trying to give warning that, you know, while some things are great and some things are wonderful, in the wrong hands, they can be life-ending, challenging, controlling. And I'm just at a shock loss to see that this is where we are in the world again now. Have we not learned anything from the first part of the 2020s? Have we not learnt about things? You know, I believe that everyone has a right to their own choice. I am a real believer in live and let live. You know, I don't have to agree with how you live your life, as long as it's not encroaching on me. If it's something that's whatever, happily go with that, like, right? And I give you that privilege, and you should give me the same privilege, right? But what I'm hearing now from people is that so many people are too scared to stand up and make waves again. And they're saying all sorts of things. And in 9 months' time, those same people are going to be standing up screaming like they were in 2022, saying, why didn't somebody tell us this? And we were all going to be like, we were trying to tell you, but you said we were crackpots, or you said we were conspiracy theorists, or you said we were any number of things. So I just want to say this. I don't know how many more times in my life I'm going to lose my rights, right, to be a free citizen in the world that I live in. But I won't stop fighting it, because I don't believe that a lot of things are right. And when you start to research stuff and see how we live in the world now and the rules and the things that we have now, how we think that it's always been that way. I'm 55. I can tell you so many of the things that we are doing have gone around in history in many different forms and caused a lot of life-changing problems for the world and the countries that they were, shall we say, trialled in. We're shown now that uprising is bad, that protests are bad, that speaking against is bad, right? It's only bad for those people who, who's it bad for? Do I not have a right to say what I feel and think? I'm so here for it all, and I don't mind being a path paver, and I don't mind doing the hard yards and standing on my own, right? And I'll do it until my last dying breath. But I don't believe that this is what life should be about imposing things onto other people. And people won't stand up until their rights have been affected, or somebody that they know or loved has been affected, right? And I just think it's time that we started to think about the things that are uncomfortable, that we really don't want to think about. What if what that person's saying has some merit to it? Why can't we just consider some of the stuff that people are saying and do a little bit of investigation for ourselves and see what we can find and see what we can deduce for ourselves, right? And there may be some periods of cognitive dissonance abound for some people in the future if they do start to do this, because you will realise that what you thought was and what is are two totally different things in lots of areas of life, right? Just something to think about.